It's always been a city in flux. I mean, it's always been a city of transients and people moving in and out, and people were from elsewhere, and that was always fun. I mean, that was always cool. But the whole bohemianness, in my opinion, there's still some there, obviously. I mean, it's a city, but that's what it was known for.
That was cartoonist Jaime Crespo. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco. In this podcast, Jaime picks up where he left off in part 1, talking about his evolution as an artist. He tells the story of his move back to San Francisco after high school and the various jobs he had here. He also talks about places he drank and saw mostly punk rock bands play back in the day. Then he dives into the art scene in the city in the 1980s and the founding of Corn Tortilla Press. Please go to their About page for more info about Jaime that we simply didn't have time to cover here. It's quite the life he's led. He ends the podcast lamenting the San Francisco that used to be, as well as imagining how the city can get its magic back. Here's Jaime.
Then when I went to the Catholic school, and I knew somebody that said they had the art, some girl from that class, so we kept in touch. But it might have been Anna. But I drew Jesus and Frankenstein and dragsters.
Yes.
So, yeah. When I told people that years later, they go, well, Jesus won, right? Right? Jesus won, right? And I go, I don't know, man. Frankie had a lead foot, dude.
And it was already dead?
Yeah.
Was it pre-crucifixion Jesus?
Yeah. They're just, I guess.
See, Frankenstein was already dead. He had that
That's
advantage.
True. Well, when you think about it, they both were zombies then, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's,
yeah. Only one had bolts in his neck.
Yeah, that's right.
But you had mentioned one of your friends you met in art class, I think in high school.
Yeah, art Toro.
So you must have been in, so you just kind of kept going with it. Was it like your thing? You had a lot of things going on, it sounds like.
I have a lot of interests. It's it's forgive me for I know I'm talented. I know I have some talent, Sure. But that in a quarter, you can't get a fucking cup of coffee. You know what I mean? It really is. Doesn't. And sometimes this is gonna sound weird. Sometimes the voices don't shut off. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'd like to do something like sleep or just. Right. I don't want to do this for a long time. I don't want to play any instruments. I don't even want to think about it. I just want to go do something. It's just hard. But I got to do this. You know what I mean? It's insane. Yeah. I don't know, Crumb, who's on the chopping block these days, but he did have a good saying about, I go crazy when I'm not drawing, but I go crazy when I'm drawing. Yeah. And it's true.
Quick aside, why is he on the chopping block? Sorry.
Oh, for his overt racism.
Me too. Oh, racism. Okay.
And misogyny.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like I'm dropping names, but you guys will know because it's kind of in context. Keith Knight, does the show Woke on Hulu. Oh, yeah. And he did the K Chronicles. Yes. Keith, I met him when he first moved to the city. We're still dear friends. And Nina Paley, another cartoonist in my group, she had all three of us Zoom recently. Mm-hmm. And Nina asked us both, she goes, you guys are men of color, what do you guys think of our Crumb, and all what's going on because of his racism and his sexism. And Keith had the best answer. He goes, well, he's the most honest white guy about it. And I said, you're right. Interesting, he is. Yeah. And he's still a racist and a sexist, but I'll tell you, he could really shake a pen. He really... All of us agreed on that. It's like, dude, the guy can draw. Right. Like nobody's business.
So was he an inspiration? What were some of your inspirations as you're getting a little older?
Oh, boy. Cartoons on TV. In those days, Saturday mornings is all you had. So we had the Warner Brothers stuff, all the Bugs Bunny and all that. Mm-hmm. The early Gumbies, mm-hmm. The real when he had BBs for eyes, not the big ones, and the real crazy synthesizer soundtracks.
Some weird shit. Gumby, yeah.
You guys missed it when we first moved in here. Every morning I go out and have my coffee. I watch the news to get the weather, and then after she's off in her room, I watch one Gumby. I had to get Gumby before I started my day. Yes. So I need one Gumby and one of the old ones. So. So that stuff, Bullwinkle and Rocky, which I think I have right behind Michelle's head, some of the collections. Yeah, so a lot of just TV and then comics in the newspaper, which I don't even read anymore, but right. It was usual fare Peanuts. I liked BC. I thought Johnny Hart, I still do, thought he was really funny. Awesome. Wizard of Id, mm-hmm. Holy beans, I'm spacing on people right now, but
That's all right. But I was going to say, maybe a little later, did you start finding the artists themselves? Like, we mentioned Art Crumb, but like, were there others that you were kind of being inspired by or looked up to?
Yeah, when I had ice go to L.A. Every summer. Well, one summer I got sent to San Diego, and it was one of the cousins. They were actually, they're cousins. We call them an aunt because they're so much older. And her husband bought properties in the 40s and 50s. So they were like landlords. And one of the places they were living in was in a place called Cardiff by the Sea.
Oh, yeah.
North County, San Diego.
I know Cardiff, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful town, right? So I get there. I'm the only brown kid for miles, right? And I discovered that's how I got into surfing. Okay. I went there with short hair and khakis. I came home with long hair and baggies. You know, I was sold, man. This is like awesome. And Surfer Magazine. And I still have the copy somewhere of Rick Griffin. And he did Murph the Surf, but by the time I got there, it was like 71. So he was more in the psychedelic phase, and it was a 2-pager that just my mind just, I was like, wow. It was wordless too. Yeah. There's all these little vignettes of like, I don't know, just amazing art. And I was like, okay, I'm sold. This is what, I'd like to do this. If it's And Mad Magazine. That was the other one. Yeah. Mad Magazine was there's every cartoonist I know, superhero, that do, anything, name it, we all meet back at Mad Magazine. Every single one. Awesome. Every single one.
I was sometimes that kid at the grocery store who would do the fold-in.
Oh, yeah.
On the store copy.
On the store copy,
Sorry, everyone. I have to. It was like, I'm too young to have any money to buy the fucking thing, and my mom probably wouldn't let me buy it, so I'd just be like, oh, boobies, Yeah. Yay.
Yeah, when I was a kid, it was it was expensive. It was like, and I'm not kidding, for me, it was like 35 cents.
Yeah.
Cheap, it said underneath. Right. I was like, that ain't cheap, man. My lunch money's 30 cents.
Exactly.
So, and I would do that on the way to junior high. I wouldn't buy lunch if the new Mad came out. I'd buy the new Mad magazine and just forego lunch. I'm good. Yeah. I'm good. So.
Let's go back. We covered a lot of your many interests, I think. Not completely, but
it's okay.
We got into them.
We don't have to get into any of them.
Let's go back to San Francisco in the early mid '80s. So what were you doing besides going to those bars and punk shows?
What was my first job? My first job, I worked part time I was a screen printer. I worked at the Color Machine. The Color Machine part time and Bill Graham's, what were they called? Winterland. Oh. Okay. I worked at them. And it's funny because when I worked at Winterland, one of the guys on the line with me was this hilarious dude. We talk about fishing, and he was a musician, a bass player. And he ended up starting this band called Primus, a few years later. Mm-hmm. And he was the one musician of like the 12 of us that actually did something.
That made it, yeah.
But yeah. Claypool was hilarious. He was a really nice, regular dude, Yeah. I think he was like from Hayward or something. I don't know, someplace. Right. Yeah. So as Sacramento, we related.
He's a winemaker now, right?
Is he?
He does other stuff. I think he makes wine. Yeah.
I knew he was big into fishing when we were young. I don't know if he still is, but
there you go.
That was big. We talked about like getting money and getting one of the commercial boats and going out.
That's still a dream for me.
Really, you should do that. I used to do it a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, I used to fish a lot back in the day. But anyway, so I had that job.
What was your job at Winterland?
Just screen printing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just we work on a line, T-shirts I remember doing. Why does this stick in my head? I remember doing something for a racquetball thing, and they called it Church of the Holy Rollout. So I guess the rollout was a racquetball thing. So make sure it's all registered. I remember they were red shirts, black and white, art on them, so they stood on the red shirts. I don't know why I remember that. I remember us doing nylon stockings, and we did like little hearts or something, or some little cutesy thing. I don't know whose idea that was.
Probably a man's.
Probably.
Let's go with a man.
They sold, and then from there I got fired. One it just Winterland was it would slow down, so I was back at the Color Machine, and I got fired because I don't know. I think I got too drunk the night before the punk show and didn't know I was working the next day. Because I'm usually pretty good with jobs. I was always like, because I knew where the money came from.
Right.
But I remember I got fired. So then I went about a week without a job. Then a friend of a friend called saying there's this dude. I'm not going to mention his name because I still don't really like him. But he had a guitar manufacturing parts. And he just made pick guards at this point, going Stratocasters on. So I was his first machinist in the Richmond, like on 3rd at California, in his garage. I set up, how we figured out how to put the routers in. He had this big packing crate. I said, oh, wait, we can use this. And, that's growing up in Sacramento as a brown kid. The DIY thing it wasn't hip, it was broke.
It's just how you work.
Yeah,
how you live.
Broke, man. Art and I, our band, man, we made half of our equipment, our PA speakers.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, we just, a lot of thrift stores and shit people are throwing out. Yeah.
Sorry, quickly, when you worked at Winterland, did you get to go to shows for free?
I think Winterland was closed at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so because I went to the actual Winterland once in the 70s. Just before it closed, and of all things, I went to a Dead show.
Okay.
I was taken to a Dead show.
Okay.
So that was an experience.
I'm forgetting the timeline, but the MAB, was that later?
The MAB was going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you go there a lot?
Yeah, I played there, hung out there. Yeah. Okay. The On Broadway was upstairs. The Minutemen, I was in a band, one of the forgetful punk bands. And we opened for them.
Yes.
And they're really nice guys. Mike and Boone was just awesome.
Yeah.
He was smoking up some kid's pot. I remember it was really funny. Yeah. And then the next time they came through, I think it was at the On Broadway. I wasn't playing that night. So I just got on my skate and, I bought a pint of beer or a quart and drank it outside with some friends and then went in. And, there's that's the funny thing, there's probably 45 or 50 of us there. Because I remember trying to get people to go. Like, hey, man, Minutemen are playing on Broadway. You want to go? And I remember people like, nah, I don't like them. I don't really want to go. Right. So I'm like, shit, you're losing out. All right, whatevers. So I went, had a great time, talked guys afterwards. Hey, it's that dude. Hey, what's going on, man? And then, because they hang out, and then I went home. I remember skating through Chinatown, and it was just almost pitch black, and I'm kind of just like a Tuesday night, right? And I'm going, oh, God, I got to get to bed because I got to work in the morning.
Were you drunk?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I was 20, whatever. And, so anyway, but my point of that is now years later, the people I knew back then that I still see around, like, oh, yeah, I was at that show. Yeah, I was at the shows. Like, all the people, it didn't hold 5,000 people.
Right.
But everybody was at that show all of a sudden.
Yep.
Like I said, back in the day, you weren't thinking, like, this is going to be historic.
Right.
You're just like, oh, cool, there's a punk show this week.
Right. It's just something cool.
Right.
To
do.
I
want to go do this, and I'm going to go do it, because then the next night you might go to a friend's and watch a hokey movie, or... You know what I mean? Or go work on comics, or go have your own gig at somebody's, basement or something.
Yep.
It was just one of the things in the week. So,
I should have asked this before we started. Here we are. How long did you live in the city? Like, when did you leave the city? Would that have been the 90s?
Yeah, I left in 1992.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Okay,
because I want to talk about the rest of your time in San Francisco.
Okay.
This is good shit.
Okay.
Any other stories you want to? I have some questions, but any other stories you want to?
Oh, there's a zillion stories. Like we were talking about street art with certain people, and I was doing it back then. But mine, I was so paranoid back then about being caught, and I was caught, and had to wash cop cars for a couple of weekends. But one of the things I did get caught, and this is how you're gonna go, man, Jaime, you're so paranoid. I found a Macy's shopping bag. I don't know how I got this idea, probably at work, and another shopping bag, like a department store. And I cut a piece of wood so I could put it to cut, and put the piece of wood on an old mic stand, so it could be just like a brace. And I put the bag upside down, and drew a picture of Frankenstein, and then cut it out with an X-Acto knife, and copied that onto the next one, then did the inside. So what I did is I wore these. I'm laughing at how hokey I was. I went and found, I don't know how, the gloves you wash dishes with, like blue or yellow. I think I had yellow ones. And I had those on. And I had a black can in one and a lime green can in another bag. And I'd walk around San Francisco and on the sidewalks, and I'd stop, and then I'd do the green one, and then switch them, and then do the black one. They kind of register almost.
Oh my God.
And then walk away,
I love it.
Like nobody'd hear me over there going,
yeah.
But the things you think of,
I mean, do you think people would have been like, when they see it, they're like, oh, it's Jaime?
Oh, I didn't care. I just wanted people, I'm this way to this day. I just walk around and see stuff going, oh, that's cool. That made my day.
Right.
You know, I don't go, oh, was that Finch? You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck, you know, who did it. I just want to see it, you know. Then when you start seeing a lot of them around and going, oh, this person is very prolific. Oh, I see they got a style or whatever. But in those days, it was like the wild style was coming in, the pieces, and the Mission and places you had placas, you know, placasos, which I did in Sacramento, you know, tag names, the roll calls, you know, Puppet, Sleepy, Oso, all that.
Yeah.
And, that was about it. You know, you didn't see too much. You'd see some wheat paste art and so forth. And
like political?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember back then the
Reagan days.
Yeah, the Reagan days. Yeah. And bloody. I remember the first one saw Keep Your Bloody Hands Off of El Salvador. And somebody did a bunch of, you know, 8.5 by 11 yellow paper with black writing, but the hands they did in red and they were dripping.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. And they put them on poles. I remember they're on the light posts up and down to Divisadero, and they were in the Mission and on Market Street too. So that was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
When did you start doing comics, your own comics?
That I started in high school.
Okay.
Because that guy Art I hung out with, who was a year older than me, but he actually had facial hair.
Oh.
And this is hokey too. Back then, you couldn't buy underground comics if you were under 18 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
it's like
sure.
kids in my neighborhood can go get you a gun right now, but can't get the Freak Brothers. Sorry.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And so Art, though, he looked the age, so we'd get on our bikes and ride over to the comic or the head shop. And then he'd go in and he'd buy 2 of everything. I'd give him my money and I'd watch the bikes.
Love it.
Yeah, and that's how.
So you had the problem of looking too young. He had the opposite problem where he pulled it off.
One of our mutual friends I met through him said, when I first met Art was in junior high, and I walked in the class, and I looked down and saw this guy with a beard and glasses. So I said, what is this class start? Like, whatever. And Art looked up like, I'm a student, man.
Yeah.
I'm an 8th grader.
I work here. That's funny. You guys didn't have to do the like one on each other's shoulders with a trench coat.
No, but it was kind of a way.
A version of that.
Yeah, a slight version.
I love it.
But I discovered punk rock with that guy. I discovered underground comics through him. We discovered jazz together, like John Coltrane, serious jazz, no wave music. He's a phenomenal musician and a great painter. And truly, I met him at a perfect time in my life. He probably saved my life. I mean, he tried to talk me out of sports, and you know, I kind of backed off on some of it, but he did talk me out of all the other nefarious activities. I was hanging out with these other, we'll just call them the after school activities group.
Okay.
And you know, he really made it worth it because we really had a lot of fun together, and I can't thank him enough. And I became part of his family, literally, because he's one of 6 kids and he's the only boy. And his dad's like hardcore chauvinist from Mexico. So Perfecto loved me. Oh, Jaimecito. You know, he loved me. And he was with Art. It's almost like with his sisters. He's like Hopi, you know, Esperanza. We called her Hopi, Rosella, all them. He would be like, you know, oh, here's a quarter for you girls. Art, here's a BB gun. Right. You know, here girls, here's 50 cents. Art, here's a go-kart, whatever. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was the other Art, you know.
Art, you knew Art from Sacramento, is that
Went to high school together.
Okay.
We actually met skateboarding first, but we only talked for a minute. And then I went to the suburban high school to play baseball for 1 semester. Could not hang. Yeah. I was not mature enough. It was very intimidating.
Yeah.
Affluent neighborhood. I mean, the kids took me to a party out there, and some of the guys were kind of making fun of me because I got dressed up. Yeah, I got there and everybody's
for the party.
Yeah, and everybody's wearing all the guys, they're all wearing flannels standing by a keg. The girls liked it because they were dressed up. But I was ready, like, where's the food? You know, when we're going to dance? I mean, what's going on? I want to listen to Van Halen, you know? You guys got any, you know, Gap Band or something? You know? So, yeah, well, Parliament at least. So, yeah, I met him there. Then I went to the regular high school I was supposed to go to, and I walk into the art room, and they had tables in there, right? And as I walk in, this dude with glasses, and he's doing something. He looks up at me, and I look at him. We both pointed. And he goes, I know you. I go, yeah, you skate. And I sat next to him, been friends ever since.
Awesome.
Ever since. We're just like 2 little peas in the pod.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Before we were recording, you mentioned that you kept playing baseball. Did you do some of that in the city then, or? Yeah.
I played out there at Golden Gate Park at whatever the field's called now.
In like an amateur league or something?
Yeah, I'm in senior baseball league. You know, I played in the over 20s. When I was in Marin, I filled in sometimes for guys in the over 30s, and then some of my friends were older. I actually played 3 games in a 50 league when I was 40, and man, it was just too slow.
Yeah.
It really was at that time for me. Now I'd be just right. But then it was like, oh boy, they were like, oh, what's this guy doing here,
Yeah.
So anyway.
For people who aren't familiar with you and your art, like, so were you like publishing your own stuff? Were you getting published? Like, how did that all work out?
Well, in high school, Art and I would do, 1,000 ideas and doodling them every second of the day. My first published one happened in the summer or fall of 1980.
Okay.
And I don't remember which, because one of the 2 alternative papers up there, I don't remember which one though. And I did 3 1-panel well, I did 1 picture for some specific story, but it had to be humorous, and I did that. And then I did 2 1-panel cartoons, and they were terrible. I mean, when I think back, but they paid me, and I remember I made for all 3 like $30 or something, or I was like, "Ooh, righteous bucks!" I'm now a pro,
Yeah.
And then I started doing a local music shop had a big catalog they'd put out every month, like what's on sale. So you just cut and paste. The Vox, 30 amp and the da-da-da-da are these drums. And so then I was let, you can do all your cartoons in there too. And so I would do that, and they paid me for that. And I probably made $45 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But still, so this is my 41st year in being a published cartoonist.
Wow. Shit. Yeah. Congratulations.
So, thanks.
That's all. Is that the thing you've done the longest besides breathe and eat and all that?
Yeah, music, that, because I did stop drawing for 4.5 years or so. I mean, when I was married, had a young child. I was working as a union stagehand at the Oakland Coliseum and Arena, and I was going back to college.
Okay.
So something had to give.
Yeah, brief little pause.
Yeah, so I didn't know it was going to be 5 years. And the interesting part is the person that got on the phone and called me was Harvey Pekar. Okay. We're dear friends were. And he called me and said, "What are you doing? How come you're not drawing? I hear you're just working." It's like, "Well, Harvey, I got a house payment, bro. Yeah. They didn't make a movie about me, So, and that even he goes, "Oh, have you seen it yet?" And I go, "No." And he gets all silent. And he goes, "What do you work 24 hours a day?" I go, "Well, no, there's no 24-hour theaters either, Harvey." We would bicker, but what a wonderful guy. Everybody always said how grumpy he was and stuff, and he was always encouraging. And my ex-wife's from Detroit, so I used to go out there, and twice I borrowed my brother-in-law's pickup and drove down to Cleveland to see him. So it was nice. Yeah, I remember buying him lunch because I don't think his hand even waved by his wallet. It was just kind of like, "Oh, you get it." So,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
One and done.
Yeah. Great guy though. Great guy.
I lied when I said I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I noticed I think in your email, Corn Tortilla Press.
Yes.
Can you tell us what that is?
So yeah, I thought of I don't know, staples. Staple food, right? And I was thinking of my culture. So I was gonna go fry bread, but I thought I don't like the sound of. I love fry bread, by the way, but I just don't know how it sounds. And then I thought, how about tortilla or corn tortilla? Yeah, Corn Tortilla Press. Yeah, that's kind of funny because my friend Frank Stoff, who used to do a great newspaper in San Francisco. He was my age. He just passed away a couple of years ago. I just found out too. We had a press too called Any Idiot Press. So we thought that was kind of funny.
That is a good name.
So, but yeah, I just thought, that would be kind of nice. It's just like a staple thing. And then I named the comic book Tortilla. So
Corn Tortilla is yours.
Yeah.
And do you publish other
artists?
It's just you. Just
I did have the intent though, and I still might.
Okay.
Like if somebody has something little, I might go, yeah, sure, if you want to put it under my aegis and. Oh, big cigar, and I'll take all the money, because there's millions in comics, let me tell you.
Right.
Jeez. Big enough money to go to 7-Eleven and buy you a Slim Jim, So I have to steal the other stuff. So, so that was all mine.
I know you don't live in the city anymore.
Nope.
But this year, our theme is We're Still Here. And it's kind of speaking to, we've touched on it a little bit, the changes that San Francisco is always going through them, but we feel like we're at a point now, especially with the pandemic and some of the changes that are happening around that we could be reversing some of those bad trends and hopefully come out, with something better. What are your thoughts on San Francisco now, maybe looking into the future a little bit? Oh, and honesty is it's encouraged.
Yeah. Jeez.
You could just leave it at that.
Yeah, pretty much. It's it's always been a city in flux. I mean, it's always been a city of transients and people moving in and out, and people were from elsewhere, and that was always fun. I mean, that was always cool. But the whole bohemianness, in my opinion, there's still some there, obviously. I mean, it's a city, but that's what it was known for.
Right.
It wasn't known for, fucking Twitter or something like that. Like underground cartoonists. I was fortunate enough to be part of the second wave. The guys like Crumb and all them all started there in a 10-year period, mid-60s to the mid-70s, and I was there for the mid-80s to the mid-90s.
Okay.
I was part of all that. So, you don't have that anymore. Now it's like, I guess the golden era of apps or something. and even those people are leaving now because, it's too expensive. And my son and I were kind of debating this one day about how you can't really blame all the people. I go, yeah, but they're paying for it. They're still willing to shell out and kind of encourage, this greedy behavior by certain landlords and stuff like that. And the whole culture is being so. I don't know. I mean, it's gone. It's gone. Like when I lived there, and I hope I'm not sounding like back in my day, we had sticks and rocks and we made her. But, back in my day, and even not that long ago, deals were to be had on food, entertainment, lodging, clothes. There was always deals to be had. I mean, Jesus Christ. I remember Michelle Shocked when she was there in the punk scene. I remember giving her half my burrito. She was squatting in some building. She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can give you money for this." Are you kidding me? It cost me $3.50.
I love it.
It was like the size of your head,
I was going to say half a burrito is a meal.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why I dropped her name, but I just popped in my head that there's somebody that, she was squatting, but you could do that then and still live comfortably.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was, there was just stuff to be had. It was a little bit more fun, I think. So, I don't know. But now it's I don't know. I went through the mid of the pandemic. We went over, and it just seemed like a ghost town. We're like on a Thursday or a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
It's like nobody around.
Yeah.
And before I moved, I used to work in the design I don't even think there's even a design district anymore.
Ish.
Like
over by the freeway, kind of that area?
Where the Embarcadero freeway used to be, it was right next to the financial district.
Right.
I was on San Summit Pacific. I worked for a design firm that was there for a while. I just lucked into it. I was like the cop. I was the utility infielder.
Okay.
I did like photostats, chroma teching, whatever. It was all for packaging, and it was just before computers came in, so you used waxers and all that stuff. Yeah. So that's what I did back then.
You did spend a significant chunk of your life there. So I'm going to play therapist, given what you've said for a minute.
Lay down.
No, I mean, honestly, like, how does that make you feel? You feel like San Francisco is lost, like.
Sort of.
Do you hold out any hope of a renaissance or something?
Not in my lifetime.
Yeah.
It could happen, but I don't think it'll happen in my lifetime. Yeah. I mean, every time I go out towards the water here, I ride my bike around, I see that goddamn elote building, that thing in the middle. Is
the butt plug.
Yeah. Just, we drove in, just this week, and we moved. Amy's son is now living over on one of the streets in the Mission, and I drove him in my truck over there, and we're going over the Bay Bridge. I can't even tell last time I went over that, and just all the buildings that are there, and of course Coca-Cola sign's gone, and the big 76 monolith that had the time, and that's gone, and you can't smell. I was telling them in the old days, even up until the 80s, late 80s, you can come over the Bay Bridge and you could still smell the coffee from the Hills Brothers building down there. You could smell it on the freeway.
That's amazing.
My mom used to love that. Oh, this coffee smells so good. So, and it's just the way things are. And 50 years from now, there's going to be people doing this going, what do you miss about, the San Francisco? I miss all the apps and that you could do, and I miss all those little honey bears that were just everywhere. Oh, man, I just couldn't get enough of that one-dimensional little, ass clown little character there. It was, made by Mattel.
That was Jaime Crespo. On the next episode of Storied San Francisco, you'll get to know singer Tara DeMolan. Music for the podcast was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Original photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast is our contributing producer. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 4th season, we have more than 150 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you can, subscribe, rate, and review our show so we can reach even more folks. And if you'd like to drop us an old-fashioned email, we'd love that. The address is storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcasts.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.